Heretic is the latest movie from A24. It's a horror thriller starring Hugh Grant alongside Sophie Thatcher, Chloe East, and a fun sort of role for Topher Grace, who I did not know was in the movie, and even when I saw him in the movie, unrecognizable. So kudos to Topher Grace. But I digress. So the movie is about these two sisters, religious sisters, not actual sisters, and they're trying to convert people for their church, right? And so they go door to door, and they happen upon Hugh Grant's character, who is Mr. Reed. And, he'd shown interest before in religion and wanted to know more, so they're there to visit him. Now, what ensues, as you might guess, is not what they expected, right? And so they enter his home under presumably false pretenses, because they have to have a woman present. He says that his wife is there. But slowly and surely you start to get the notion that perhaps he's lying and something's not quite right. And I don't want to go and reveal too much, but essentially Hugh Grant's character ends up challenging their beliefs, right? He tries to challenge their faith of, okay, so you say you want me to be part of this religion. Well, how much of this do you buy in yourself? And it's almost like people have compared it to Saw, because there's elements of that, along with just this sort of philosophical, religious, examination, right? People have called it like Saw meets TED Talk or something like that, and I think that's apt. But what it does is it does a disservice to I think how clever this movie ultimately ends up being, and it just manages to work on so many different levels. You can't help but just be mesmerized, right? Hugh Grant is just absolutely phenomenal, as are the other two, but it takes a while for the other two to start to really come into their own, not as actresses, right? But them as characters, right? Because initially, they're very much reacting off of Hugh Grant, and, as characters, they're trying to be polite and not break societal norms. And as he pushes them further and further, obviously it requires a different reaction from them, and they start to show, for lack of a better term, their true colors, right? And you start to see of what do they believe and what they don't believe, right? And the whole question of is religion real, or is it not? Constantly is like a question that, very much that is being explored. And you as an audience member, whatever you may believe, you may be kind of grappling with that in your own right and trying to see of okay, is this movie going to upset me? Is this movie going to vindicate me? And to my surprise, I think it does something quite wonderful, in terms of how it, the ending really could have broke it, right? But I think it handles everything that came before it really well. And it manages to have a satisfying ending that I don't think is necessarily predictable. But then once you get to it and you see it, it's one of those oh, this, of course, was the inevitable path. And so I really enjoyed it. I have a lot of friends that I recommended this to that also enjoyed it. So yeah, if you're into psychological horror, this one should definitely be on your list to watch. So check it out. Yeah. I think it manages to do so many things well. And, the camera work is fantastic. As I said, all the actors are firing on all cylinders. And The editing works really well. Like, I think it knows when it needs to cut. It knows when it needs to not cut to keep the tension alive. I think the use of music throughout is really well done because some music is part of the story. Other, obviously, is just part of the background, to build tension or ease tension, right? And it tells its story really well visually, cluing you in on certain aspects. So, yeah, it's just really wonderful. And the production design, I have to say, right? Like, most of it takes place in what is supposed to be Hugh Grant's house. And, so you're spending time there. And I thought, production design did a wonderful job with it. So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. So check it out. And if and when you do, let me know what you think.